Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive. Today we're going deep on rare earth elements.
Yeah.
They're not exactly a household name, but they're super important to all the tech we use every single day. And I feel like lately rare earths have been all over the news.
Definitely.
So we're going to uncover what exactly they are, why they're getting so much attention, and what's happening with them kind of on the global stage.
It's a fascinating story for sure.
And if you stick around till the end, we're even going to touch on rare earths in pop culture, like the video game Starfield.
Oh, cool. I'm excited to talk about that one.
I know, me too.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with the basics.
Yeah.
What exactly are rare earth elements?
Well, the name's actually a little misleading.
Oh, is it?
They're a group of 17 silvery white metals that are actually not as rare as their name suggests.
Okay.
15 of these elements belong to a category called lanthanides on the periodic table.
Oh, okay.
And then we also include scandium and yttrium in this group because they're often found in the same ore deposits and have similar chemical properties.
Gotcha. So 17 in total.
Yep.
And it is true, right, that even though they're called rare earths, they're not actually that rare in the Earth's crust.
That's right. The rare part really refers to how these elements are rarely found concentrated in deposits that are commercially viable for mining and extraction.
Oh, so it's like a concentration thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For example, cerium is one of the rare earth elements, and it's actually more abundant than copper in the Earth's crust.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So they're out there just not in easy to get to spots.
That's the challenge.
Okay. And speaking of interesting characteristic, I was reading that one of the elements, comethnium, is radioactive and mostly exists in trace amounts. And get this, most of it is actually synthetically produced in nuclear reactors.
It's pretty wild. Promethium is unique because it doesn't have any stable isotopes, so that means it decays over time. It's actually one of the few elements that we primarily create rather than extract from nature.
So we've got these 17 elements. Not as rare as the name suggests, each with its own quirks and stuff. But why are we hearing about them so much in the news lately? What's driving all the attention?
It really comes down to their growing demand. They've become absolutely essential components in a wide range of high-tech applications. And these technologies are rapidly expanding.
Okay, so cutting-edge stuff.
Yeah.
Can you give us some examples?
No, the list is pretty extensive. We're talking everything from smartphones and computers to electric vehicles and wind turbines. Even military equipment relies heavily on rare earths.
Wow, so they're secretly powering so much of the world.
In a way, yes. And the reason they're so indispensable is because of their unique chemical properties.
Okay.
Rare earth elements can withstand extreme temperatures, resist corrosion, and possess exceptional magnetic and conductive abilities.
Wow.
All of these properties make them crucial for the miniaturization and the increased performance of modern electronics.
So they're kind of like the unsung heroes of the tech revolution.
You could say that.
But I'm still kind of curious about how they're used. Specifically, what are some examples?
Absolutely. One of the most well-known applications is in powerful magnets, like neodymium, for example.
Okay.
It's a key component in the super strong magnets that are used in electric vehicle motors, wind turbine generators, and even the hard drives in your computer.
Wow.
And these magnets are much smaller and more efficient than traditional magnets, which is why they're so crucial for miniaturizing tech and making it more powerful.
So neodymium is the workhorse of the rare earth family.
You could think of it that way.
What about some of the other ones? How are they used?
Well, cerium and lanthanum are widely used as catalysts in petroleum refining.
Now remind me, what exactly is a catalyst again?
A catalyst is basically a substance that speeds up a chemical reaction without being consumed in the process.
Okay.
So it's like a facilitator that helps other molecules react more efficiently.
Okay.
So in this case, cerium and lanthanum make the refining process faster and more efficient, and they can even help to reduce harmful emissions.
Interesting. So they're not just used in high-tech gadgets, but also in these industrial processes that are essential for our modern way of life.
Exactly.
Huh. Do we encounter rare earth elements in any other everyday objects?
More than you might realize, cerium oxide is used in those self-cleaning ovens.
Oh, yeah.
That have become so popular. And both cerium and neodymium are actually used to create those vibrant colors in glass and ceramics. Cerium gives glass a beautiful yellow hue.
Wow.
And neodymium is responsible for those stunning violet colors you sometimes see.
So stained glass and stuff.
Yeah, sometimes.
Speaking of glass, I came across something in the research that kind of piqued my curiosity. It mentioned something called didymium and its use in welding goggles.
Oh yeah, didymium.
Yeah. What is that?
Didymium is a mixture of two rare earth elements, praseodymium and neodymium.
Okay.
And it has this amazing ability to filter out the intense yellow light that's produced by a welding torch.
Oh.
Which can be really harmful to your eyes.
Okay, so it's like a shield for the eyes.
Exactly. It protects them from the radiation and allows them to see more clearly while they're working.
So it's like a specialized type of glass that's like crucial for safety
Yeah.
in a profession that's super important to so many industries.
Right.
Wow, it's amazing how versatile these elements are.
They really are. They have this incredible range of applications from the mundane to the extraordinary. And their story actually goes back centuries with a fascinating history of discovery and scientific advancement.
Ooh, I like a good history lesson. Take us back to the beginning. How were these remarkable elements first discovered? Where does the story of rare earths begin?
Our journey starts in 1787 in a small village in Sweden called Ytterby.
Ytterby?
Yeah.
Wait, are you saying that multiple elements are named after this one tiny village?
It's true. Yttrium, terbium, erbium, and ytterbium all owe their names to this Swedish village.
Wow.
It all started with the discovery of this unique black mineral called gadolinite. It was unlike anything scientists had seen before.
Really?
Yeah, it was like a treasure trove of elements, some of which were totally new to science at the time.
So this one little village in Sweden basically opened up a whole new area of chemistry.
You could say that it sparked a huge wave of research. And over the next few decades, scientists painstakingly isolated and identified more and more of these rare earth elements, each with their own unique set of characteristics.
Wow. It's crazy to think that these elements were hidden for so long, just waiting to be discovered.
Right.
But let's fast forward to today.
Okay.
The story of rare earths now has gotten way more complicated.
Definitely.
There's a lot of geopolitical stuff going on.
Yeah, it's become a really big factor.
So in the current landscape, who's the dominant force in rare earth production?
Well, right now it's China.
China. How did they become the leader in this?
It's kind of a combination of things. So while China only has about 37% of the world's known rare earth reserves,
Okay.
they actually produce over 80% of the global supply.
That's a lot.
It is. They've achieved this through strategic investments in mining and processing infrastructure coupled with lower labor costs.
They've really cornered the market.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
What does that mean for other countries? What are the implications of that?
It's definitely created a sense of dependence, and that's raised concerns in a lot of parts of the world. Countries are worried about relying on just one source for materials that are so important to their economies and technological development.
Yeah, I can see why that would be a concern. Putting all your eggs in one basket like that.
Exactly. You're vulnerable to any kind of disruptions in the supply chain.
Right. And have there been any examples of that? Has China ever used its position to put pressure on other countries?
Yeah, there have been times when China has imposed restrictions on rare earth exports. And, those actions kind of sent shockwaves through global supply chains and raised concerns about potential shortages and price spikes.
Yeah.
Especially for industries that are really heavily reliant on rare earths.
It's like a high-stakes game with rare earths being the pieces.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a power play.
So what are other countries doing about this? Are they just sitting back and accepting it?
No, not at all. They're actively looking for alternative sources of rare earth elements to reduce their reliance on China.
Oh,
They're investing in their own mining and processing capabilities and looking for new partnerships to diversify their supply chains.
so it's a race to secure a steady supply of these elements.
Yeah, there's a lot at stake.
Are there any other contenders out there? Is anyone poised to challenge China's dominance?
There are definitely some promising areas. Australia, for example, has some significant rare earth deposits.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they've been ramping up production in recent years. So they're positioning themselves as a major player in the global market, offering an alternative for countries that want to diversify.
Okay, I knew Australia was resource rich.
Yeah.
But I always think of them for their landscapes and wildlife, not so much for high-tech mining.
It's an interesting shift, for sure.
Are there any other countries that are making moves in rare earth production?
Definitely. Several countries are exploring and developing their own rare earth projects. Canada, the United States, South Africa, even Greenland have deposits that could contribute to a more diversified global supply.
Greenland. That's surprising. I always think of Greenland as this icy wonderland, not a mining hub.
Yeah, well, while Greenland is known for its glaciers and ice sheets, those landscapes actually hide some pretty impressive mineral resources, including rare earths. So as the demand for them grows, Greenland sees a chance to use its natural resources and become a player in this market.
So it's not just ice and polar bears up there.
There's more to it than that.
It's wild how the whole geopolitical situation around rare earths is constantly changing. Like this game of shifting alliances and strategies as countries try to get access to these elements.
It's definitely a dynamic situation. And, demand for rare earth is only going to increase as technology keeps advancing, which makes them even more strategically valuable.
Right. So this isn't just about economics and politics. It's about the future of technology and innovation. And speaking of innovation, I want to switch gears for a second and talk about pop culture.
Yeah.
Did you know that rare earths are even popping up in video games?
Oh, yeah, I'd heard something about that.
Specifically in that new space exploration game, Starfield.
What about it?
Well, in the game, players can actually mine for rare earths.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're treated as valuable resources that players can mine trade and use to craft like advanced technology. So it's a core part of the gameplay and the in-game economy.
It's cool how games are incorporating real-world issues even when they're set in these fantastical universes.
I think it shows how much more aware people are becoming of these elements and how important they are, not just for today, but for the future too.
Yeah.
Like imagine one day we might be mining rare earths on the moon or even Mars.
That's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. As we venture further into space, access to resources like rare earths will be crucial.
Yeah.
For building and maintaining spacecraft, establishing outposts, and developing new tech that will allow us to explore the universe.
That's incredible to think about. These elements that were discovered centuries ago in a small Swedish village might one day be essential for space exploration.
It's quite a journey.
It is. But before we get too carried away, I think we need to address the elephant in the room.
What's that?
The environmental impact of rare earth mining.
Right. That's a big one.
Yeah, we can't just ignore that. So that's where we'll pick up in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll delve into the environmental challenges and explore the potential solutions that are emerging. Okay, so welcome back to our deep dive into rare earth elements. We've talked about what they are, why they're important, and like the whole geopolitical situation around them.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
It is. But now we got to talk about the big question.
The environmental impact.
Exactly. Can we meet the growing demand for these elements without like destroying the planet in the process?
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to find that balance between the need for these resources and protecting the environment. It's complex. There's no easy answer.
Right. So let's break it down. What are some of the biggest environmental concerns when it comes to rare earth mining?
Well, one thing we touched on earlier is that the ores themselves often contain radioactive elements, like thorium and uranium. And if those aren't handled and disposed of properly, they can contaminate the soil and water.
Yikes.
And pose a real risk to ecosystems and human health.
That's a scary thought. So like a potential environmental disaster if things aren't done right.
It's definitely a risk.
What about the mining process itself? Is that just inherently damaging to the environment?
Well, mining in general has the potential to disrupt ecosystems.
Right.
And with rare earth mining, like with any other type, there are risks of habitat destruction, soil erosion, and pollution from dust and chemicals used during extraction.
So it's not exactly a clean process.
No, it's not. But these impacts can be managed to try and minimize the environmental footprint.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
No, not at all. There's a growing movement towards more sustainable and environmentally responsible practices in the industry.
That's good to hear.
Companies are starting to realize that being environmentally conscious is not just the right thing to do, but it's also good for business.
So it's not just about digging stuff up and hoping for the best.
No, definitely not. What are they doing to, green up rare earth mining?
Exactly. What are they doing to, green up rare earth mining?
One of the main things is reducing the amount of waste generated during the whole mining and processing operation.
Okay.
New technologies are being developed to allow for more efficient extraction, so they use fewer resources and produce less waste.
That makes sense.
And there's also a ton of research going into finding safe ways to handle and dispose of the radioactive materials in the ores.
Right. Got to deal with that somehow.
Yeah, it's a priority. So it's shifting from a brute force approach to something more strategic and careful.
Yeah, being more mindful of the process from start to finish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another crucial thing is putting stricter regulations and standards in place for mining operations.
So like safeguards to prevent pollution and make sure companies are accountable for their environmental impact.
Exactly. These regulations can set limits on emissions, mandate responsible waste disposal, and require companies to implement environmental monitoring programs.
Okay. So those are all really important steps.
Absolutely.
And there's also a push for more transparency in the supply chain.
Absolutely. That's huge.
So consumers can make informed choices about the products they buy.
Right, because If people demand products made with sustainably sourced rare earths, it puts pressure on companies to adopt more responsible practices.
So we as consumers have power too.
Definitely. You vote with your wallet.
And what about recycling? Like, how does that fit into the picture?
Recycling is absolutely crucial. Think about all the electronics we use every day. Smartphones, computers, tablets.
Yeah, full of rare earths.
Exactly.
Right.
And if we can figure out how to efficiently recover and reuse those elements from e-waste, it would drastically reduce the need to mine new rare earths.
Oh, wow. So we're literally sitting on a potential gold mine of recyclable materials.
In a way, yes. It's a win-win. Reducing waste and lessening our dependence on new mining.
It seems like a no-brainer. But I'm guessing there are challenges when it comes to actually recycling these elements.
There are some challenges.
Like what?
Well, for one, they're often used in very small quantities and mixed with other materials,
Oh.
which makes them hard to separate and recover. It requires specialized technologies, and those are still being developed.
So it's a tech hurdle we need to overcome.
Exactly. But scientists and engineers are working on innovative solutions to make rare earth recycling more efficient and cost-effective.
So there's hope for the future.
Definitely. There are promising advancements being made all the time.
That's good to hear. So it sounds like we could be on the verge of a more sustainable future for rare earths.
I think so.
A future where we can use their amazing potential without harming the planet.
That's the goal.
Wow. So the future of rare earths is really tied to the future of the planet. It's like we've been saying this whole time. It's this complex mix of challenges and opportunity.
It is. And the choices we make today will determine whether these elements become a force for good or a source of environmental harm.
It's a big responsibility.
It is a shared responsibility.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want everyone listening to think about this. Could these elements that we often associate with high technology actually hold the key to a more sustainable future? It's something to consider as we continue to innovate, explore, and strive for a better world. That's it for today. Thanks for joining us, and keep those minds curious.